What is going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. We are finally to the halfway part of our week. Hope everybody's having a great week. Josiah, man, Monday was a good day. Let me just preface this first. I wanted to lose that game, and coming out of there, are we going to make the playoffs?
So here's what I'll first say. We both picked Jacksonville, but I told you that Jacksonville was 28th against the pass. I told you with my bets, which would have hit if Lawrence didn't get hurt, that Browning is going to have a good game. I told you, don't be surprised if it's a trap game and Cincinnati comes out with a win. And that's exactly what we saw. And you know what? Even if Lawrence didn't get hurt, I still think Cincinnati wins that game.
I couldn't disagree with you more. I think if Trevor was in that game, I think that they would have ended up winning. But
So
at the very
as for your Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No,
Go
I
ahead.
mean, I will say that the Ridley catch there at the end, that getting called back definitely kind of screwed them over too. Just because I don't really know if that was holding there, but I think that then they end up punting on the first full drive they end up having. I'm pretty sure that was one of their first punts there of the game. I think Trevor would have ended up scoring there.
Certainly possible, but we'll never know because injuries happen. And for the first time in 2 years, the Ravens are the healthiest team in the AFC, arguably. They only had one player missing from practice today, and it was Rashad Bateman because he was sick.
Man,
So we're healthy coming out of our bye, but we're not here to talk about the Ravens. We're going to talk about the Bengals. We're going to talk about the Bengals' playoff chances because, Josh, if they go 4-1, which is totally doable with their schedule, they'd be at 10 wins, and that is the floor for getting in the playoffs. I think we both agreed before the season 10 wins might not get you in.
yeah,
But I mean,
but I think this year 10 wins will get you in.
yeah, it definitely could. I mean, let's see. They got to play in no specific order. The Colts, which I know that's this week. Browns, or no, I'll tell you, I think I know the order. It's Colts at home,
Vikings.
Vikings on
I
the
have it here:
road.
Colts, Vikings, Steelers, Chiefs, Browns.
There you go. So you got to play two division rivals who also are missing their starting quarterbacks. But for Pittsburgh, I'm not worried about Pickett being out. Mitch Trubisky started. He could be just as good as these other backup quarterbacks playing. It's the defenses you got to watch out for. But defenses, man, the Bengals defense really stepped up this week. I was very impressed with what I saw.
I knew that you were going to go there. Josiah, why would they have ended up playing better this week than last week? Actually, last week they played well. They only ended up giving up 16 points. I know they gave up, was it 407 yards, but 16 points. That's pretty good for any offense. I don't care if that's the Steelers or not. But why do you think they gave up less yards in this game than the last one? Trevor was healthy for the majority of it, and we played overtime.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. The only thing I could think of is the Jaguars' offensive coordinator is Zach Taylor's brother, and Zach wanted to stick it to him. That's the only thing I can give you.
No. So the reason why that had nothing to do with the defense. He doesn't control that portion of it. So
he's the head coach. He had to give a hell of a speech to that team before going out there. You know it.
Sure. But the reason why the defense played better was because the offense actually gave the defense a break and actually had sustained drives. So the defense wasn't consistently out there on the field. Hence why offense wins championships. But to go to the Trevor Lawrence injury, okay? So I still think that there is a chance that Jacksonville wins it. I do think that it's now more likely that Houston wins the division over Jacksonville, but we can get to that in a minute if you disagree with that. One thing that kind of stood out to me, and I saw a few people kind of talk about it there immediately. Didn't you think it was kind of weird they didn't bring a cart for him?
Well, he came out today, actually. I saw this post interview as I was leaving work. He said that they offered the card. He denied it. And that's
I don't care. You're taking it. You're not making it worse by going up there.
Dude, it's a high ankle sprain. Looks like he doesn't need surgery. We saw Mahomes deal with this, and look what he did last year. I'm really not worried about it. They have not even put Lawrence on IR. They haven't ruled him out of playing this week yet. Yes, he didn't practice today, but he's starting to move around just fine. I'd have to sit down and look at the rest remaining schedules for Jacksonville and Houston. If you want to look that up, we can. Houston's definitely got a shot. I think the Colts also have a shot. They're also one game back from them. So watch out for that. But I don't think Lawrence is going to miss too many games. I think give it at max 2 games and he'll be back. So even if Jacksonville loses the conference, I still think they make the playoffs. But your number one seed goes out the window.
Yeah, that one did kind of blow because I did just toot my own horn there on Monday. Just before the game, I was like, oh, somebody on the show had said 1 seed, and then the star quarterback ends up going down, and now I look like an idiot. But I wear that one. So they play the Jets. The Texans play the Jets this week, then the Titans, Browns, Titans again, Colts. So a bunch of divisional matchups. Probably going 4-1 down the stretch, at worst, right?
Yeah, I can see that.
The Jags this week, they play you guys, don't they?
No, we play the Rams.
Okay, sorry. They play the Browns this week, then the Ravens next week, then the Bucks, the Panthers, the Titans. They're probably losing this week. They're probably losing to the Ravens. Probably 3-2 down the stretch. So maybe come down to the wire there. I don't know, man. I'm buying into Houston. I like what I like what they have to sell.
My proudest moment, as I'm going back to week 1, when the Ravens, I'm never going to let you live that down, because the Ravens got by them 24-9. And you said that, this team, the Ravens team, didn't look that good against Houston. You barely put up enough points against Houston. And this was a game that we were supposed to blow them out. And then what did I tell you? I told you, watch out for Houston. They're a better team than people are leading on. And now here we are, 5 weeks to the end of the season, and Houston could potentially not only get in the playoffs, but take the South away from Jacksonville.
Yeah,
it's exciting race going down to the wire, which is crazy because, yes, the Bengals got hurt, a lot of injuries there, and they're now 500. The Browns and Steelers are 2 games back from the Ravens, and the Ravens are, unless there's some unfortunate injuries that occur, they're winning the North. The AFC South looks like one of the most competitive divisions in the AFC now, because the Bills and Dolphins obviously are separating themselves. The Chiefs, even though they're not the Chiefs we know, they're still separating themselves from Denver and everybody else. And now you've got 3 teams in the South that all are trying to make the playoffs and could keep Cincinnati and Pittsburgh and Cleveland out. So it's definitely a switcheroony for us.
Now, if Kansas City loses to Buffalo this week, I think that we got to start having some conversation, because at that point, Buffalo is 7-6. They got a bunch of backup quarterbacks ahead of them. Dude, I'm telling you, this is such a weird year, and that's why, I know this is kind of a pivot here, but this is why I would give the MVP to Tyreek Hill, because the season has been so odd as it is that, and there's so. Let's just say that each team, you could name a specific and huge reason why they're not winning the Super Bowl this year. There's not one strong definitive. And then if you end up looking at what some of these quarterbacks are putting up against these defenses, to go back to my offensive point there with the quarterbacks being down, okay, well, defensive numbers are going to be so jagged this year because everybody's having to rely on their defense to end up, taking them to some sort of winning season. I think that you got to give the MVP to Tyreek Hill. He's going to end up getting over 2,000 receiving yards, clearly breaking the records set by Calvin Johnson. I think that he'll end up getting somewhere between 15 and 20 touchdowns, and he'll have about 120, 130 catches, I would assume, by the season's end. And I think that next to a quarterback, Tyreek Hill is what defensive coordinators stay late up at night thinking about and trying to game plan against him. I think that he has provided more to Miami, and if Miami gets the 1 seed, the only reason why they got that 1 seed was Tyreek Hill.
They got to beat Baltimore to get that 1 seed, right?
They're going to beat Baltimore.
In Baltimore. Say it again.
They're going to let me sleep on that one. Let me sleep on that one.
That's what I thought. Anyway.
Because I like Miami.
I like Tua. I've been a big advocate for Miami since the beginning of the season. Since the offseason when they got Jalen Ramsey, I've been a big kid. And that's exactly what we're seeing, a number 1 team. Unfortunately, they haven't played well against teams over 500. But that's fine. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. That could be, they're coming up. There's games with them coming up. But taking quarterbacks aside, and just because I'm going to shit on him, Brock Purdy does not deserve to be MVP favorite. I'm sorry. He doesn't. So taking quarterbacks out of it, yes, Tyreek Hill has been phenomenal this year, and he definitely deserves the MVP. But I think we need to talk about McCaffrey, too, and what he's been doing. I mean, McCaffrey is the 49ers. I'm sorry. You take away McCaffrey, that team is not as scary. Purdy is not as scary. McCaffrey's in on every play. He's on receptions with screens and down the field. He's blocking. He's running great. And he's scoring touchdowns. And a lot of those touchdowns that Purdy is getting is because of him. Debo's great. Ayuk's had a couple good games. Kittle's been up and down like Kelsey has this year. It's been a weird year for tight ends, dude. But if we're talking non-quarterback MVPs and you're going to take Tyreek, that's cool. I'm taking McCaffrey. Give me the boy. He's been healthy all year, and we're seeing what he can do.
Yeah, I think that the consistency of what Tyreek has brought to the Dolphins versus what McCaffrey's ended up bringing. McCaffrey's able to have a much better stacked season anyway, just because, similar to what we're saying with Brock Purdy. There's superstars all over the place. You can't plug the line there, because if you do, George Kittle is going to be open there in the immediate, or you're going to end up seeing Ayuk there deep. Debo is going to be coming around to end up catching a swing pass. So, but even looking at some of McCaffrey's games, he went on a decent stretch there of not even reaching 100 yards. And I only mention that because Tyreek Hill is consistently putting up over 100 yards receiving.
And McCaffrey's consistently putting up touchdowns.
True. But if Hill walks away with 15 to 20 touchdowns by season's end, doesn't that match then McCaffrey's 15 to 20 touchdowns that he's going to get?
It does. You need to look up how many touchdowns each of these players have, because I'm curious. You look up Hill, I'll look up McCaffrey real quick.
Okay.
Because I do want to compare this. We didn't really have a show for you guys tonight, so we just kind of figured we'd go in with the review and let the conversation go, and this is what we got. So let's see what's going on here.
So Chris McCaffrey has scored 17 touchdowns in 12 games this year with over 1,000 yards for
12
rushing.
of them rushing, 5 of them receiving.
You said what?
12 rushing, 5 receiving for McCaffrey.
Oh wait, you were looking at McCaffrey?
Yeah, you're supposed to look up Hill because you're the advocate for Hill at MVP.
That one completely went over my head there. Okay, so he scored 12 touchdowns, 93 catches for almost 1,500 yards, 1,481.
Is Tyreek Hill going to get the Triple Crown this year?
For sure. I think A.J. Brown had a chance there, but I think he's going to end up getting it. Dude, receiving yards per game, 123 and a half.
That's crazy.
That's unbelievable, dude.
Hill is great, and he's a huge factor in that Miami offense, no doubt. But you can't ignore what Waddle's doing there either, and what their running back is doing.
But who's getting tripled?
Do what?
Who's getting tripled? Like who's getting the bigger attention? So I don't think that this is a Jamar Chase, T. Higgins situation where you have a 1A, 1B. And this is no slight to Jamar Chase at all, but because of Tyreek's speed, they're going to be focusing in a lot. I understand Waddle's quick, but they would still much rather try to have Waddle beat him deep than Tyreek beat him deep and embarrass him. So he's getting bracketed on so many of these plays.
From what I've seen from both Chase and Hill, Chase has had his great games against the Ravens, but the Ravens tend to be able to hold him in check very well. Hill has torched us on multiple occasions in both uniforms, so I'm going to agree with you there.
Now, I think that. All right, you ready for this?
Oh boy!
Maybe this will be a sparring Saturdays thing here. If you really, because we do need to put a list together. I think Tyreek Hill, top 3 wide receiver all time.
Oh, no argument from me.
So Jerry Rice at 1, Randy Moss at 2, Tyreek Hill at 3.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you, man. The numbers don't lie there.
If Tyreek Hill has another 2 years of stuff like this, maybe not even putting up 2,000 but like 1,800 yards. I don't know, man. I think that we really do have to now he's talked about retiring early, but as long as the speed is there, dude, he's always open. He's the real oh shit. What are they? 7-Eleven.
You want to talk receivers? I got a few receivers for you. First off, let's talk Mike Evans and where we're going to put him at all time. Because, yes, he only has the 1 Super Bowl. But he has 10 straight 1,000-yard receiving seasons. I don't know if that's ever done before. And then outside of Mike Evans, another receiver I want to put in your mind here. A lot of people forget how athletic and superstar Antonio Brown was.
Yeah.
I think we need to put him in the top 10. I think he is past Hines Ward as the best Steelers wide receiver.
I'll give that one to you. I'll definitely give you that he, I think, was better than Hines Ward. But I think that similar to where this might end up hurting Tyreek Hill in the long game, because AB ended up shorting out on us and had this huge stretch of TMZ articles posted about him and whatnot, it kind of cut his career short. Because then at that point, that was right in line with the complete decline of AB, where I still think that maybe he wasn't ascending. He was still, I think, at the peak of his powers when he left Pittsburgh. So I think that because he didn't do it for a long enough stretch, I think that's why I can't put him in the top 10 all time. But had he done that for another 4 or 5 years, that's where D Hop ends up coming into play too.
Well, let me ask you this, because I think Antonio Brown's last official NFL game was in 2022. So he was drafted in 2010. I think he was a second, third, fourth round pick. He wasn't a first round pick, I don't think.
Yeah.
But he was drafted in 2010. He played 12 years. Obviously, his best years at Pittsburgh, declined when he left. Tyreek Hill said he's going to retire at the end of this Miami contract, which isn't that long. Like you said, we've got maybe 2 seasons left. When was Tyreek Hill drafted? How long has he been playing? And, if we are going to put him in a number 3 best all time, you're going to have to consider Antonio Brown in that category if you're talking about longevity, because Antonio Brown did have 12 years. And if Tyreek retires after 2, I think he would finish with less than that.
So Tyreek Hill came in the league in 2016, has 9,800 yards. Let me look up AB here. Damn.
What? Tell him Josiah's right.
No, my thing was lagging there for a second. So he played for 11 years. So he's played a little bit longer than Tyreek. 12 about 12,000 receiving yards.
So see, it would be interesting to see where Tyreek Hill is on that list when he decides to retire at the end of his contract. He does. Maybe he sticks around longer. But
yeah, because 12 years for AB. If you gave me 12 years of Tyreek, right now he's at 98. So you think he could be around 16 to 17,000 receiving yards by the time he was done if he played for 12 years. I don't know. He saved Tua at the very least. He saved Tua, because I'm telling you right now, I would have been even louder about the fact that the Dolphins need to end up moving on from him, especially after last season. But Tyreek Hill definitely saved his career. You think they end up extending him after this season? Because they didn't pick up his 5th-year option. So this is a contract year for Tua.
Well, here's the thing. Mike McDaniel's the head coach, and we need to talk about what he's been doing there. He likes Tua. He supports Tua. Tua's his guy. So as long as they're going to keep Mike McDaniel's around, I think they're going to keep Tua around. They're best buds.
Yeah.
I mean, Hill has definitely helped Tua in his career, but who wouldn't Hill help? I mean, if you got somehow Tyreek Hill to Baltimore to play with Lamar Jackson, we would become a pass-first offense, and no one could stop us.
Yeah.
So the credit to where credit is with Hill, but as for Tua, I think he gets extended, and I think the best of Tua is still yet to come. I know you don't like those left-handed quarterbacks, but
no,
I'm excited to see what
is he going to get, like the Daniel Jones contract? Because that conversation hasn't really started yet. But I feel like he's going to be looking at more of like a 4-year, 40 per type of contract.
Well, look at the numbers he's putting up. I mean, I know his MVP odds have gone down drastically as we've seen others come up, but he's still putting up significant numbers, and Hill does play a big part in that. So you got to, I mean, Daniel Jones' numbers are nowhere near what Tua's doing this year. You take any of Daniel Jones' years and put it up with what Tua's done this year, you're not going to get that comparison. So it almost, Daniel Jones has to be the floor of what you're going to pay Tua. Has to.
I don't know if I feel comfortable with spending more than $45 million a year on him. And honestly, it would have to be short term with some injury based clauses there in the contract too. I would feel really, really nervous on extending Tua. I think that I would probably go so far as to say I would not end up extending him, just out of fear of, for one, the injuries. Two, why would I, McDaniel coming from San Francisco, why not just look at what San Francisco is doing? We're seeing right now that Brock Purdy and Tua are in the exact same boat. They're not at the top of everybody's charts for most talented quarterbacks in the league, right? We all kind of agree that they're the product of their own situation. Why not keep on stacking up Miami? You got Buffalo in the decline. The Patriots don't know what the fuck they're doing. The Jets will be good in, let me see, it's 2023, probably about 30-23. They should be pretty good. Sorry, Jet fans. That's just the reality of your situation. But Miami can kind of stack this up for a while if they follow the recipe from where the head coach was bred from. Why not just reset the clock there? I think that they can get just about anybody in. Hell, I think that if they were to keep Mike White in that offense, I think that team would still be in the number one seed today if Mike White had started week one.
I don't know. I really don't.
I think if it wasn't for Tyreek Hill, the Dolphins would probably be undefeated right now.
Jeez, bold take.
Hey, I'm full of those. I watch the games, that's why you come here, because you want the best analysis, and I'm telling you right now.
It's like the Jags getting the number one seed. Best analysis.
I mean, dude, they had it. They had it until their star quarterback went down, and
like the Bengals and Steelers finishing better than the Ravens. Oh, great.
And what do you know? Both their quarterbacks also in it falling. Now I will say Kenny Pickett. I'm not claiming that
he's better than Lamar. Come on, say it, Josh. Let me destroy you.
No, I will say this. Where I was completely wrong on the Steelers. I did not think their offense was going to be this bad. I thought Kenny Pickett and another year in the system. George Pickens is phenomenal. Deontay Johnson, I think, is one of the more underrated wide receivers in the league. I'm not a big fan of Najee Harris, but with the defense, I thought that all around that team was going to be really solid. It has been the offense. I mean, gosh, dude, I have Pickens on my bench, and I think I've started him one time all year. I can't start him. He's not reliable enough. He only comes around for a few games.
Yeah, absolutely. And I told you that. Actually, one time you had a lot of quarterbacks this year, man. There was one week you put Deshaun Watson. I think it was the week against Baltimore for some reason, and he didn't even play. It was the last second scrap. Why would you play him against Baltimore?
Well, and now I'm kind of fucked because I had Trevor Lawrence. I had to move off of him, obviously. Kyler Murray's on a bye, so I have to start Gardner Minshew against my Bengals for this week because I didn't have a better option than that. I could pick up Jake Browning. It just makes me nervous.
You can go get Joe Flacco.
Yeah, sure.
He put up like 14 points this week.
You know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna pick up Jake Browning right now. Look at that. And now I have four quarterbacks in that league.
You did. Can you guys see that notification? Can you see that? See that? Hold on, get a little closer. See that? It's the corn on the drop. Yeah, add Jake Browning. You can see that.
Yep. Man, I mean, gosh, dude, fantasy has definitely went really well for me though this year. I can't say that enough.
By the way,
that has to do with your picks.
You guys are back here on Monday. You know that, yes, in the leagues I'm in with Josh, unfortunately, I've been eliminated. But the leagues he is not in, ironically, I'm looking great. And as for the one dynasty league that I'm in, we were close to losing, guys. We were close to losing and falling to third place. Well, I won. Everyone else needed to lose. This boy is sitting at number one at 9-3 or 10-3. It's 1-2. Anyway, I'm in first place. I got the bye right now. I'm sitting cozy. My Ravens are coming off a bye. Things are looking good for your boy in the leagues that don't have Josh. So maybe Josh just has my answer after playing fantasy with me for the last 7 years. I don't know.
I think that I beat you. I did. I beat you every single time. We played each other one last time, I think, in one of the leagues.
I beat you once. I know I beat you once. I should have beaten you when we played this year the first time, but Tyreek had to go off. Every week.
Tyreek has been. I always end up trading him too, which feels like such a stupid thing, for me to end up saying. But I really was contemplating on trading him. Hey, it's all right. Happens.
Yeah.
All right, Josiah. So we got a game here on Thursday that is not fun. So Steelers Patriots. We have Bailey Zappi and we have Mitchell Trubisky. We have Bill Belichick in his final season with New England. And Mike Tomlin trying to drag another poor team to the postseason by once again finishing the year over 500. Pittsburgh's going to win this game. Yeah. I'm not going to lie to anybody out there. If that game is not interesting by halftime, I'm turning it off, even if it's close.
From what I've picked up on X, which, by the way, guys, if you like to use X, make sure you give us a follow there. We got some great stuff. Yeah,
forgot to plug that in the beginning here.
From what I'm seeing, the Ravens had their blackout, the Bengals had their stripe the jungle, and then the Browns copied the Bengals with their white uniforms. From what I'm hearing of the Steelers fan base, they're all trying to have a gold out type of deal tomorrow night. So it's going to be interesting to see how much gold and yellow we see.
Well, we'll see. It's going to be disgusting. I can promise you that. The Schittsburg colors are honestly just across sports. Like their entire city has the same disgusting black and gold. And I'm telling you, you remember The Blind Side where Miss Stewie was talking about the gaudy orange for Tennessee? Gosh, that's exactly how I feel about this. The colors for all of Pittsburgh sports. I'm telling you, pick a different color.
Isn't the Penguins more like the Saints kind of color though? Like it's yellow, but it's got that Saint.
Yeah, but it's still got the black because you got the Penguin in there.
Yeah, it's black. It's definitely black, and then the Pirates black and gold, Steelers black and gold. Thank goodness they don't have a major league NBA team.
Makes me want to vomit. Josiah, anything?
I'm taking Pittsburgh. I'm taking Pittsburgh as well. I'm sorry, Belichick. I've lost hope in you. For years upon years, I said Tom Brady was only good because Belichick made him good. And I thought we were going to see that with another quarterback, but you failed. Give me Pittsburgh.
Yeah. I think the writing's on the wall. He's gone at the end of this year. I think that he knows it. I think that they've already got Gerard Mayo in the building. They're going to end up promoting him. It's more so of a matter of, okay, how does this all end? Does he just ride off into the sunset, or does he do what the reports are saying and he's going to still coach afterwards? I just can't picture him in anything other than New England. But all reports are saying that he still loves football, still is incredibly invested, and will continue coaching after.
I don't think they fire him. I think they promote him inside the organization and move him up to maybe – I know his scouting hasn't been good and his drafting hasn't been good. But when you have someone like that, you don't let him go. I think they'll find a way to promote him and keep him in the organization and get a new head coach like Jared Mayo.
So apparently it sounds like he'd be unwilling to not take – like if they were to keep him on as a head coach past this season, they would basically make it to where he'd have to take his GM spot away too. And he doesn't want to do that.
Yeah.
So that's the other piece for other teams that I don't know why you'd want to end up having him as your GM. I don't think he's a bad coach, but if you look at his draft picks over the past, I don't know, 20 years, they haven't drafted, damn near anybody. I understand that they had a good couple of years there with Gronk and the late Aaron Hernandez. they walked ass backwards into Tom Brady. Some teams just get lucky like that, and they just so happen to end up picking the right guy.
And that I don't think it was luck in that matter. I don't think they just luckily found a quarterback and plucked it. I don't think it would have been anybody else. I think it was just the fact that Tom Brady had something to prove, and Tom Brady did what he had to do to become the best. I mean, he took care of his body. He changed everything about him. I mean, you've seen the picture of him in his rookie year, how fat he was and how fit and clean he is now. And I mean, money does that, yeah. But, if they would have done the same thing and drafted let's say they drafted Jamarcus Russell, okay? Let's say they drafted him second round, or we'll just say they drafted him fourth round, sixth round, fifth round, whatever. Same thing. He's not going to play like Brady did. It was just the fact that Brady is Brady, and Brady made New England. And just like when Brady left, New England has been destroyed. And now they possibly could have the number one pick in the draft if somehow Carolina could string a few wins.
Man, I'm telling you right now, Carolina is not winning another game.
I mean, we said with Patriots coming out of the bye, they were not going to win any of those games, and we haven't seen any wins yet. I think they still have the Jets one more time, though, so maybe they get the win there.
Well, I mean, guys, the Panthers play the Saints, the Falcons, Packers, Jags, Bucks.
Oh,
you know what that sounds like?
Losing.
That sounds like 5 L's right there. That sounds like Bryce Young, who some people rightly had ended up saying was just a right-handed Tua, is going to go 1-16 in his first year.
And they blame the head coach. That's fine.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but tootie fucking toot. Gosh.
Well, make sure you guys stay following us and join us for the upcoming draft we'll see here in April. Josh will give you another Tua copy clone to watch out for.
Ooh, I will say that the touch on that Michael Penix, his comp is Tua.
Don't you dare.
His comp, people are saying that he is just a bigger Tua.
Oh boy, no.
You know what?
No.
I kind of believe them. They have a lot of good receivers out there, man. I'm telling you.
I don't believe you. I don't want to listen. I don't want to listen to you. Don't be doing my boy like that.
I guess the good thing with the Bryce Young take is it was pretty immediate. I literally just had to see a picture of him in his first practice, and I was like, oh, see, here you go. Here's proof right here. And then people are like, oh, I don't know yet. Then he starts playing his first few games. I'm like, you see it now? Yeah. People are gonna end up seeing it with Michael Penix. The unfortunate thing is I have like 10 months that I have to just sit on this. And I'm gonna be right for these 10 months, but I have to sit here and just, stew over this. But at least, hey, I like to be first, not last.
Gosh, I can't wait for mock draft time. That's my favorite time.
Hey, I did one the other day.
You guys want to see that? Comment and let us know.
I was gonna say I just did one the other day for the top 10. I didn't do the full first round.
Who was New England taking?
New England, they ended up taking Bo Nix.
That's what I was gonna say. I think Bo Nix just makes sense.
Yeah, and I don't think they're getting into that one spot. So I think they're going to draft Bo Nix. I don't think Belichick is going to be there next year. I think they're going to end up. Now, I think they should take Ben Johnson from Detroit, but I think they're going to stay in house because that's been the plan for years now. And then they're going to try to make do with what they got from there. I think at that point, that's where the Chicago play is interesting because they definitely do not want to win another game, and that's why the win this past week was kind of disheartening, I think, in some ways. They want to get that Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison combo, but I did not have them doing that in this past draft.
Okay.
All right, Josiah. Anything else here for America before we close it out?
I think we're good.
All right. Josiah ended up hitting the plug here earlier, but don't forget, go to Twitter, go to X, whatever you want to end up calling it. Follow at JJ in the evenings. We're going to be moving a lot of stuff over there. Maybe, the show, but we're not going to end up getting into that yet. Go ahead, go follow over there. Subscribe though while you're over here because we're always going to end up being on YouTube. Despite that, Houday, Jake Browning, and you I trust, and Browning is making Cincinnati great again. DeMar Hamlin, let's be the 11th man on the field.
Lamar Jackson, MVP 2023.